Hello everyone, thank you for watching and welcome to a college level analysis of skill-based matchmaking. Now I think a lot of players will agree that skill-based matchmaking is stressful and unbalanced and does not really have a place in online video games. So in this video we will be talking about what skill-based matchmaking is, some player testimony, some alternatives to the system, and what we can do as gamers to stand against it. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with what skill-based matchmaking is and aims to do, it aims to assign every player within an online video game a skill score and then match all these players together against other players of equal skill. This is supposed to provide an experience where all matches are more fair because they're more against players at your skill level. However, we will see how this can be not as fair and can actually be very detrimental to the game and the players that play it. So, to start my argument against skill-based matchmaking, I want to ask everybody watching this video a question. How would you feel if you spent 1,000 hours playing and perfecting your favorite video game, and you really have improved and become better, and you played a level that you're very proud of, and now instead of feeling rewarded for that sort of experience, you have to wait maybe half an hour or even 40 minutes to play against other players because you're forced to play against players of your skill level? Now, according to an article published by Cornell University, this is a reality in League of Legends where players are having to wait up to 40 minutes to find players to play against. This sort of waiting and lack of having higher skilled and lower skilled opponents is a very real side effect of skill-based matchmaking and one of the main reasons I argue against it. I don't believe that players who've gotten better or who have just started the game should have to be waiting so long to just play the game that they are trying to figure out if they actually enjoy or thoroughly enjoy and have a passion for it. In addition to this matchmaking flaw to skill-based matchmaking, numerous pro players have gone on record speaking out against skill-based matchmaking. I'm going to reference one in particular, though I'm sure if you typed in skill-based matchmaking opinions, you could find many other pro players saying basically the same thing. I found a quote from FaZe Thieves that says, "Skill-based matchmaking takes all the fun out of the game, and it makes it impossible to play the game with friends." I would have to agree, because when you're forced to play with players of equal skill as opposed to mixed skill, a friend that may be not as skilled as you are, or maybe as your group of friends, is going to be forced to take on extra weight that they cannot maybe bear. They're going to be forced to play at a level that they maybe cannot play at, and that's going to lead you to be frustrated at them, and even them, your friend, to be frustrated with themselves because they cannot play at this level. Also, a note on taking all the fun out of the game, especially once you get into the higher and more skilled levels of playing a game. Everybody's competing at such a high level that you always have to be on your guard and in the moment, and this can be very mentally taxing and just stressful as opposed to relaxing where you can really just let your guard down and have a bit of fun. I now want to reference a study conducted and then published in the medical journal The European Psychologist that found some sort of correlation between violent video games and easing feelings of hopelessness and symptoms of depression in players who had played violent video games as part of the study. I think this connection was very interesting and valuable, and makes me wonder if we should be making video games stressful to play when this kind of connection was found to be present in a study actually published. It makes me think that we shouldn't be doing this kind of thing where we add unnecessary stress to our matchmaking systems and to our players. So now that you understand some of the downsides of skill-based matchmaking, I want to talk about some of the things we could put in place instead of skill-based matchmaking. I want to start this discussion off by talking about an article I read by Ella Horton and Daniel Johnson, published by the Queensland University of Technology. Now, their article researched alternatives to skill-based matchmaking, specifically socially motivated alternatives. These types of socially motivated alternatives, as you might imagine, were more so about addressing the social aspect of a matchmaking system, such as what players would want socially from their teammates as opposed to based on a skill level. They also cited a big reason for the lack of these socially motivated systems being put into place as a general just lack of awareness to the fact that these things exist. I read that even in one of the Microsoft had begun to take interest, but had never really gone much further with putting it in place. My goal for this discussion and this video is to raise awareness about some of the alternatives to skill-based matchmaking, specifically the socially motivated alternatives, which I did some research into, and to cover how these can be put in place and what research has been done into some of these alternatives. I also read a very interesting study published by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. Say that 5 times fast. The study created different matchmaking systems and then let participants play a game with these matchmaking systems in place, and then let them rate which one they felt was the most effective and created the most enjoyable matchmaking and gameplay experience. There was 4 different types they cited, which I will now list. The first one was a skill-based matchmaking system which assigned a skill rating based on a player's performance after the game. The second one assigned a skill rating system to a player throughout the game, taking more so into account things that they had done throughout the game, such as objectives captured and accuracy. The third one takes the 2 previous skill-based matchmaking systems into account, but also tries to predict which team will win, and through this prediction tries to make it perfectly a 50-50 chance that each team will win in an attempt to make the games more balanced and fair. And then the final one took some of the skill-based matchmaking aspects into account, but also accounted player fun during the match. This was done by administering surveys after the match to try and narrow down what had made the games fun, and then more so replicate what had made those fun through a matchmaking system for other players and for future matches. Now, unsurprising to me, the matchmaking system which had taken player fun into account was the most well received and voted the most enjoyable throughout all the participants in the study. I thought this was really interesting because it seems that players do more so prioritize having fun over having perhaps equally skilled teammates. Finally, I want to end this discussion with a study published in the International Journal of Mental Health and Addiction. I think these psychological studies into video games are very interesting, and what this study found was that a lot of players with a video game addiction, especially problematic video game addiction, are using video games to supplement social interaction within their own lives. So I thought this was a very interesting connection into the socially motivated skill-based matchmaking systems and the matchmaking systems that had taken player fun the most into account. And I'd just like to leave it on that note. Now, after hearing all of this information, you may be asking, what can you do to combat skill-based matchmaking and to maybe advocate for some of these sorts of things to be put in place? Well, there are no shortage of online petitions that speak out against skill-based matchmaking. You can boycott or maybe reduce playtime in skill-based matchmaking modes because this communicates to the developers that their modes are not being played for some reason. Let's find out why and maybe listen to the community for once. You can also share this video or a message of your own or any of the articles listed below with the hashtag I want to start, which is the hashtag #EndSkillBased Matchmaking. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video brings some sort of change into your life and maybe even to the life cycle of games as a whole.